Hi and welcome to Mountains for Everybody YouTube channel and site. Today I have an interesting question to discuss, and this is: are Alta Via routes in the Dolomites ever too crowded? Motivation for this video and the post in my site are questions that people frequently ask in some Facebook groups, and I can tell you there are many Facebook groups about the Dolomites with all the good reasons, because this is an incredibly popular area in the Italian Alps. From what I remember, more than 30 million people visit the area every year. So the question about Alta Via routes is frequently asked, and from replies that I see that people give, I get the impression that those that reply frequently have no idea about Alta Via routes, but those are just tourists that have some problem in finding uh, parking or something like that. So this is why I wanted to write a post to have it as a reference and perhaps offer a link to people who ask. The text is quite long, and I'm not going to go through every detail that I have here, and as you see, it's really very long text. I shall just point out several important issues that are relevant to this topic. So when you speak about crowd on Alta Via routes, then there are at least four different elements to mention, and these are huts that you have on the routes, then high elevation restaurants. This issue is not really so much important, but there are restaurants on the routes. Then trail sections between huts and attractive tourist spots. So related to huts, are they really crowded or not? If you try to make reservation for any of these huts on the Alta Via routes, and there are, just to know, 10 Alta Via routes in the Dolomites with many huts on the routes, you will realize that they are fully booked months in advance. So it doesn't really matter if you try to book for late June or mid-August, which is top season. They will be fully booked months in advance. So I would say that they are never crowded, they are simply booked, and they have certain capacities. Let's say in a village 100 people. I'm just giving any arbitrary number. When you have such a number of people in a hut and then they spread over next section on the route, it is unlikely they will ever have a crowd on the route due to trekkers that are on the route. Something similar could be told about restaurants, but this is not such a big deal. If you find yourself, if you see such a restaurant on the route, of course there may be a crowd, but this is due to tourists and people that come from surrounding valleys, but you will always be served. There is no issue about this. About crowded sections between huts. As I said, if you have, let's say, 100 people sleeping in a hut, and then in the morning they start moving on the next section, and let's say you have 3 to 5 people in the group, and you have 10 kilometers section, ideally you will have groups every 300, 500 meters. So this is something that I would never describe as a crowd. If you go solo and you want really to be alone, you have plenty of options for this. Attractive tourist spots. I would say that this is the main issue here. And when you see people talking about crowd on Alta Via routes, My impression is that these are just tourists and not true Alta Via trekkers. So this is about people who go to attractive places and then they experience problems with finding parking, for example, or to have place in gondola and so on. But most likely these are not true trekkers on a route. But again, I would say that this is the main point why you will see claims that Alta Via routes are crowded. So I give here, as I already mentioned, just one estimate about crowded sections, and these are the numbers that I mentioned already. So I would say you cannot really expect crowded routes. You can expect crowd on some spots that are on the route, and this is on purpose. I mean, spots are parts of the routes because they are so attractive. There are many attractive places on Alta Via routes, and this Lago Coldai is one of them. So, for example, I was here in midday. I took a long rest here on this spot, which is actually Alta Via route, and there were just a few people passing in my 1 hour rest at the lake. There was a hut just before the lake, and of course it was crowded, but this is because when I was going up, I have seen many people coming from lift stations that are around and just hiking from the valleys. Those are not trekkers on Alta Via routes. I have seen a few people with big backpacks going on the Alta Via route that goes here, but again, this has nothing to do with the crowd on the route. I mean, the route itself was not crowded. Then here is one more. This is part of Alta Via 4, Trecime di Levaredo. I was there, of course, I did the around tour around these beautiful peaks, and it was not crowded at all. But of course, during the day, the main parking is always full, and you will have many tourists coming and making tour around. This is a part of Alta Via, but it's just one particular tourist spot that can be crowded. But as I mentioned, this text here is very long, and I give some suggestions how to deal with this, how to avoid the crowd if you really feel that you don't like crowd, and if you feel that the place is too crowded. Then one particular example is this passage on the route to Lago Sorapis, which is actually part of two Alta Via routes, Alta Via 3 and Alta Via 4. When I was going here, there were many people coming from the Passo Tre Croci, families with kids, so hundreds of people, literally. And on such narrow passages, perhaps you could experience sometimes that you have to wait till such groups pass, because you cannot really rush here. There are a few of these passages where you have to be patient. But as you see, I took this picture. There was nobody. I wanted to have a picture without people, but I couldn't say, well, go away, I want to make a picture. I found a moment and I took this picture, beautiful, on a route that was incredibly crowded. So again, if you want to make a picture to be alone for a moment, there is no problem for this at all, even on such a place which is probably the most visited in the Dolomites. Here is one picture again from Alta Via 1. This is Gran Fanes. I was in this case I was there early in the morning, and there was only one person here. This is the part where the route to Lagazuoi goes, and this was only one person going up from the Lagazuoi from Gran Fanes plateau, which is over 2,000 meters. So as you see, not a crowd at all. Of course, during the day, I was there several times, so I have seen people, uh, big groups, in particular in this section, tourists that come by some transportation to Pederuhat and then make a walking tour to Cabana Alpina, which is in Alta Via Valley. On one occasion, I have seen a group of at least 30 Chinese women, elderly people, going in groups. But again, I really didn't see this as a crowd. You can always find a way to walk solo and to enjoy the beauty of the area. This is again a picture from Gran Fanes, from the place where I met those tourists that come from Pedero, and so on. So as you see, that this text is very long. Many aspects of the crowd on Alta Via routes discussed, and I would advise that you follow the link below this video and come here and read this text in detail. So I would conclude with just one statement, that when you see people complaining about crowd on Alta Via routes, most likely those are just tourists that cannot find parking during the day when they want to visit some of these famous places like Lago Serapis, Cinque Torri, Lago Zoe, and so on. Thank you for watching. Please follow the link and come here and read this text in detail. And till next time.